This is the Recap Episode, a weekly podcast about exploring and analyzing reality TV shows season by season. I'm your host, Walker, and I use my social science background to investigate reality TV shows to uncover what they have to say about their casts and the communities they belong to. For this episode, I'm bringing you one of my favorite phenomena in the reality TV world, a one-season Bravo show, which tells you already so much about what we're about to get ourselves into. This show is called Princesses Long Island. And while you think about what that could possibly be about, let me read you the description so we can start to uncover this together. From Bravo's website, which is the same description that is put on Amazon, Princesses Long Island documents the lives of 6 college-educated young women from affluent areas of, quote, Long Island, who live pampered lifestyles in the comfort of their parents' homes and at the expense of their bank accounts. Something very important, well, 2 things that are pretty important to the show, are not mentioned in that description. One, that most of these women have a motive, at least as the way the show shows them to us, in finding a new relationship to be part of, finding a husband, finding that marriage that they're after. The second piece that it really didn't tell us, and this connects a little bit more to the name, is that all of these women are Jewish, or at least we are told they are. The princesses in the name refers to Jewish American princess. And as I'll discuss later, I'm sure that at one point that was included in the description, that all these women are Jewish, and that was taken out due to the response to the show from groups such similar to the Anti-Defamation League. So, some brief information about where exactly this show came from. Of the producers that are listed on Wikipedia, 3 of them have Housewives credits. So, Stephen Weinstock, Glenda Hirsch, and Lauren Eskelin have all worked on various Housewives series. Other producers included Leonid Roloff, who's worked on Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List, When Boys Fly, and Fire Island. Noah Sampton, who's worked on Battle on the Block, The Fashion Show, Bad Fashion, Lucky Bastards, and Love, Lust, or Run. It's hard to tell if Andy Cohen had a play in this, because, the history of his time with Bravo and the roles he played, I think he switched roles internally, right at 2013. So it's hard to tell how much he would have had his hat in the ring for setting up and producing this show. But there was a podcast, Behind the Velvet Rope. They made this episode, actually 2 episodes, in 2021, with one of the cast members named Amanda, who has really, from what I can tell, been the one who's, the most spoken out about being on the show, and will actually talk about it. Some of the others have gone, really private, and others are just kind of moved on. When asked about where the show came from on the podcast, Amanda told the host that a casting director reached out to her and some local women. They did some screenings and then invited them to, have dinner together with the cameras on just to see how the vibe was and how the women interacted with each other. And then they got the contract 6 months later. She also shared that the show originally was just going to be called Gold Coast Girls, referencing Long Island's Gold Coast. And then it was also potentially changed to Princesses of the 5 Towns. She says, before it became Princesses Long Island eventually, Amanda says during the casting that the Jewish aspect that connected all these women was completely left out. Most of the focus was just on affluent, single-ish young women who are from Long Island or live in Long Island. And she said that pretty much everyone else on the show who became our main cast knew of each other before the show, and that Amanda was kind of separate from them, but she knew of them. Everyone else actually knew each other. But Amanda just kind of knew of kind of our central figure, Chanel, before the show. So with that being said, I will get into this recap because there's quite a bit to cover. It was a 10-episode show. Again, it aired June 2nd, 2013 to August 4th over that summertime slot, or over that summer season. We have 6 main cast members. Luckily, they have pretty distinct names and personalities. Before the first episode, we do meet 5 of the 6 of them, so I'm not really going to introduce them here, but I will just let you know they range in ages 27 to 30. When we start the show, one's in a committed relationship, one's in a on-again, off-again relationship, the other 4 are all single, and 5 of the 6 live kind of remotely close together, or relatively close together in Long Island. I think the furthest distance between them was like 30 or 40 minute drive. And then one lives part-time in Long Island and part-time in New York City. We won't meet her until the second episode. So, our first episode is called You Had Me at Shalom. First thing we see in here, over a montage of scenes of Long Island, and particularly one of a very close-up facade of a synagogue, is there's an old Jewish proverb that says, when you marry an old maid, you get a faithful wife. But let's be honest, no guy on Long Island is going to fall for that one. I did look that up. I don't think that's a real saying. A lot of these episodes start with like there's an old Jewish proverb, and I'm like, I think only 2 of them ended up actually being old proverbs or sayings. And we're shown Chanel for the first time in a confessional, and she has to add on, and here, when you're 27 years old, single, and still living with your parents, it's time to panic. And then we jump into our intro. So, our first scene that we open up with, we are at Chanel's family house. We meet Chanel, she's 27 years old. Her baby sister, who is 24, is getting married. She'd be happier if she wasn't still single at 27 and getting called an old maid. She tells us that she comes from a Jewish modern Orthodox family, so they keep kosher, they do Sabbath, and the kids live at home until they get married. I'm not Jewish, and I'm no expert on Judaism and their traditions, so I'm not going to speak onto whether or not that's accurate. Although I did see some things online in my research that said that that's not exactly a thing that's like always strictly followed, but it is for this show and what this show is doing with these women. She told all of us that in a confessional. We meet her outside at a Shabbat dinner with her family, during which they're discussing not only her younger sister's upcoming marriage, but also Chanel's lack of current love life. We learned that Chanel had a recent breakup from a 10-month relationship 5 months ago. The guy broke things off to go back to his 19-year-old ex. I will let you do the math on that one. I did it myself, and I did not like what the numbers told me about that. Chanel's dad kind of ends the discussion, and we move to a different scene with him saying, you need to get over him before you can move on and find a new relationship. Next, we cut to Erica. She's our next one that's introduced to us. Erica's 29. We first learn about her relationship to being Jewish in comparison to Chanel's family. Erica, she tells us that her family is Reformed Jews, so they're not as kosher, not as traditional. We also learn that Chanel and Erica have known each other since high school, and Chanel tells us mid-confessional that Erica was known as the hottest girl on Long Island back in the day. A little rude to not call your friend the hottest girl on Long Island presently, but as we'll learn a little bit here in the next 3 episodes, it's because there was a reputation that she still hangs on to, or is still attached to her, that started back in high school back in the day. Erica tells us that she has a bit of a reputation as a party girl, but, she doesn't overdo that while living with her parents, which we see a scene of her pouring herself a second or third glass of wine, and her dad's kind of be like, hey, slow down on that, and she says, hey, I'm not 17 anymore, I'm 29. We also learned that Erica has been seeing this guy, Rob, who is her on and off boyfriend/ex/boyfriend for about 10 months. Their relationship is constantly together, fight, off, back on, repeat. And as we'll learn later, a little bit threatened by Erica's behavior. Our next scene to meet our next lady is we are at a salon, like a manicure pedicure salon, with Ashley, who is 29, and her dad. Similar to Erica, we actually get the introduction to Ashley through Chanel first. Chanel says that Ashley is one of her best friends, she's a bundle of fun, and she isn't afraid to be herself. Ashley is the first one to officially claim the Jewish American princess title in the show, and she does it via confessional. She is very, very close with her family, as evidenced by her dad coming to the salon with her. During the salon trip, Ashley's dad asks about potential husbands. Ashley shares, not only with him, but like a reminder to him, but shares to us that she wants someone who is assertive, a man, the alpha, ambitious, successful, a gentleman. She says someone like her dad. We get a little bit of comedy with her just to kind of show a little bit of like how outrageous she is. She tells us, because she's 4'9", that she always wears heels everywhere. She's always in heels, and she has a heel for everywhere and everything. But of course she's got a pedicure, and they put her in the little like salon flip-flops, right? And she's like, hey, is there a flip-flop with a heel? I can't walk in a flat. So she, convinces her dad to like wheel her to the front of the spa in the little like wheelie salon chair. And then she convinces one of the guys working at the salon, maybe he's an owner or something, to carry her to her car so she doesn't have to walk without her heels, and be seen without the symbols of status, right? Ashley's spoken about this about the show, and she said it initially started as a joke that then got followed through on. But in terms of watching the show, it really characterizes her in a very specific way. Ashley is daddy's girl, daddy's princess, and she likes her things, and she has a very specific quality of life that she loves and wants to maintain. Our next scene is with our next cast member, another introduction. We are at Amanda's family's house. Amanda's 26. She is our youngest. I believe she came 27 during the time of the show or something. I'd have to double check that. Her mom, Barb, or Babs, is wearing the same style top as her. Babs is... She's Amanda's mom, but she's trying to be like Amanda. She's someone who's, holding on to youth and the energy of it. Amanda says living with her mom in Great Neck is great, but it feels like her mom is acting more like her best friend rather than her mother due to these, again, retaining the youth ways. Amanda tells us she has a new boyfriend, Jeff, but she says that Babs doesn't like him because he may end up taking Amanda away from her. And that's one of the conflicts with Jeff throughout the series is Amanda and Jeff are ready to move on, but Babs doesn't want Amanda to leave the nest yet. We do get to meet Jeff in this initial scene. He comes to pick Amanda up. She shares in confessional that they met on the Long Island Railroad and chatted up. We also learn that Jeff is 38. At dinner, Amanda and Jeff talk about potential marriage, and it seems like they're both serious about taking this relationship to the next level and getting married. And then who cuts in during the conversation but Babs? She calls just to see how things are going. Got to keep that leash on her baby tight after all. Our next scene is Ashley. We cut back to her. She's driving through Freeport, and she's freaking out a little bit because that is on the South Shore, the more lower class, less affluent area of Long Island. Ashley's driving through, and she's saying all these things where she's like, oh, I didn't realize it was this bad. She's freaking out about couches and benches on porches, seeing wire fences, and she's like, oh, I want to get out and give all these people a hug and then run away. A little condescending. She's here to pick up Joey, our last introduction of this episode. Joey is 29. She's from Freeport, like I said. Here's how we're introduced to her. She tells us she has a full-time job, she's launching her own business, and she's not very spoiled at all. So she is our kind of sort of like a fish out of water kind of thing. She's used to the environment, but she's not from the same background as the other ladies on the show. She tells us that a typical Long Island girl usually drives a BMW, shops at Roosevelt's Fields Mall, has a Prada bag, and her mom has fake boobs. The car you drive, the bag on your arm, the man you date is pretty much who you are in Long Island. Which is excellent setup for the show. Bravo does know what they're doing when they want to put a show together about a very specific group of people and how to establish the scene. Unfortunate that sometimes these shows just don't take off, and they only get one season. Ashley's picking up Joey to meet up with Erica so they can go shopping for dresses for Ashley's birthday party, which is in 2 weeks. When they get to the store, after driving through what is described as a monsoon, they get there and the power is out. The lights are out. They can't go shopping. Ashley is freaking out. She's not getting her way. She's not getting what she wants. Joey is saying, girl, please, it's one dress. The party is 2 weeks away. You'll have plenty of time to find the perfect dress. But through badgering the store employees and I believe the manager that was there, they managed to get their way in so that they could look at things and put stuff on hold. So Ashley gets her way, which reveals to us a lot about her motivations and a bit of her personality. Our next scene is at Erica's family house. Joey comes by to hang out with Erica, and she's come by after work to get some, rest and relaxation time. Erica shares that she has an idea for having a pool party at the end of the week on Friday, which Joey's excited about, and she says, oh, well, let's bring a bunch of guys over. And the idea is to bring guys that they themselves are not interested in, but their other single friends might be. A mixer of sorts. Now that the information for the pool party has been spread around the group, we cut to Amanda, Babs, and Jeff going shopping. There's a pool party, so of course Amanda needs a new bathing suit. While Amanda is trying them on and everything, Babs is also trying to not steal attention, but get the same kind of attention. So she's also trying on bathing suits, and both of them are modeling for Jeff, who just will not stop making comments about how attractive he finds both of these women. And I didn't really pick up on this like in this first episode, but Reality T, the website that like recaps and blogs about reality TV, the writer on there, Melissa, recapped the entire series back in 2013 when it was airing. And Melissa picked up on the fact that like Jeff doth protest too much. He's like a little too straight. Melissa is convinced that Jeff is in the closet and Amanda's dating a gay man. And now that I've like read that and I'm coming back to my notes and thinking about like the earlier parts of the season, I'm like, oh, you know, I do see it. But we are shown here something nice about Amanda's relationship is that Jeff meshes really well with Babs. We cut to the last scene for the episode, which is Erica's pool party at her cousin's place. So she, you know, doesn't have to worry about cleanup afterwards, and her parents won't be there to be annoying. Erica does have some, you know, self-awareness when we are coming into this party, and she's kind of establishing the scene for us, saying she knows she grew up with a silver spoon. She says in her ass, but we love a missaying of a phrase. All of the ladies show up. Joey brought some friends from South Shore, I guess Sarah and Derek, and someone else brought a bunch of other dudes. Ashley, you know, appreciates all the hot guys that Joey brought, but she wants a man who is 10 years older, wears a suit, and isn't a meathead like the guys that are currently in attendance. Amanda and Jeff finally arrive to the party after not being there immediately, and then Sarah, who was one of Joey's friends that she brought, starts up some drama. Apparently, she starts claiming that Jeff had stalked her on Facebook previously, had like written messages on her wall. It's so like, I know it's 2013, and I was graduating high school in 2013, so I understand, I know, but it's so bizarre in 2026 to hear people talking about, like, he was interacting with my Facebook page, of all things. So Sarah starts doing that. She starts trying to insinuate that, like, Jeff isn't loyal, or that he's really creepy. Sarah tries to, like, get this through Ashley, but Ashley literally just shuts that down, and she's like, Amanda's my friend, and you're not going to do that. And Ashley then reveals a little bit more of her personality and perspective. She tells us that Sarah is a typical South Shore girl, desperate for attention. And here I noticed, like, well, of course the party has to have a conflict. That's how we move these series along. So Erica has to step in and try to break up. There's a weird conflict between Sarah and Ashley and Jeff. Not very successful at doing that. And then Amanda steps in finally and pulls out the, like, well, we're getting married about, you know, her and Jeff, to try to get Sarah, like, you know, just leave, girl, leave it alone, get out of here. Which gets a round of applause from all the dudes that have came by. Just like, oh, okay. Sarah calls Jeff the F slur. Ashley makes it very clear, you do not call people that. And then we get some, like, a debate on the legibility of the use of that word while this, like, fight is devolving in the background. Whole thing ends with Jeff and Amanda leaving, and Chanel capping off the episode saying, this is why we're all not married. So episode 2 is called Shabacalypse Now. We start with a recap of the first episode delivered by Amanda, and then we get another old Jewish proverb. This one is, a slap in the face heals, but a harsh word is always remembered. And Amanda says, living in a culture where girls talking shit is worse than slapping someone, I'm surprised that half the girls on Long Island don't have black eyes. Before I get into the events of this episode, I just want to say, this one singular episode is such a good case study of, like, storytelling in reality TV. The entire runtime is basically spent building to a climactic event near the end of the episode. And, like, it's all exposited well, it's all laid out extremely well. This is a good episode of reality TV, I will say. Even though across the board this show is kind of middling. So the first thing we see is Amanda and Babs shopping. Joey shows up, and she also meets Babs for the first time. Now, Joey is here to apologize to Amanda for the behavior of Sarah from the previous episode. But more specifically, Joey isn't necessarily here to, like, take any responsibility for that or put any blame on herself, because after all, it was Sarah who did all that stuff. She more just wants to establish that she herself was not the problem. Amanda shares with Joey that she would have preferred for her to come to Amanda's defense and get rid of her friend, but Amanda is going to accept the apology, but she's keeping one eye open when it comes to Joey. The next thing we see is Chanel taking Ashley to meet her friend Casey, the 6th princess who we haven't met yet. Chanel describes Casey as a guy magnet, really putting her worth as a character in this entire saga in relation to men. We love it. They go to New York City because Casey lives part-time in Long Island and part-time in New York City. They meet at a club. It's accidentally... They're hoping to find men. Turns out it's actually gay night. And Casey shows up and does meet them. We get a little bit of backstory from her. We learn that she grew up in Long Island, but she is a city girl. And her first confessional, she tells us, she doesn't care about the red bottoms. She doesn't care about the status. She's more interested in love, life, art, etc. We get a little bit of backstory here that will become important later. Chanel drops on Ashley that Casey and Erica have history and have known each other, which is 100% planted so that we as the audience get this backstory for later in the episode. Some 10 years ago in high school, Erica stole Casey's boyfriend, basically like the night of prom or whatever. The next thing we see is a dinner double date. Jeff and Amanda, Erica and Rob, so the two ladies of our central cast who are in relationships of some kind. This is where we first learn the Amanda and Jeff backstory, which is a little creepy. Jeff says he stalked Amanda for 2 weeks after seeing her once on the LIRR platform, and finally managed to make it so that he was sitting across from her and finally hit her with his opening line. And he tried to shop really nicely, so he looked really nice, but I thought it was creepy. Many other people online have also shared the same opinion. During this dinner, Erica brings up Chanel's plan for a weekend in the Hamptons with all the ladies. Jeff says, oh yeah, I'll be coming with Amanda. They'll be getting a hotel room while everyone else gets sort of like a rental house to share together. Now we finally get Casey's intro. Chanel and Casey are at Casey's place in New York, going through old high school drawings and current art that Casey's done. Casey's an art girl. She likes to do art. She's also a cocktail waitress. She works at One Oak, I believe. She said she's hoping to one day do art more professionally. Chanel kind of randomly prompts Casey about, quote, the Erica stuff, while Casey was explaining how she does art to help her go through things. And then Chanel also invites Casey to the girls' weekend in the Hamptons, but wants to warn her that Erica will be there. Chanel really wants to do a Shabbat dinner. That's what this whole thing is planned around, and wants Casey to experience that with the group. And Casey says if Chanel really wants her there, then she will come, but she is afraid to be in a confined space with Erica. So we're setting up the stakes here. Next, we see Erica and Joey chatting at Erica's family's house. Joey makes a wonderful comparison. Erica is like a silver spoon, and I'm like a white plastic fork. Again, cementing Joey as kind of like the lower class or the poorer of these six ladies. And Joey also, again, tells us about Erica's reputation. Joey is here primarily to ask about the Casey backstory, but also to reveal to Erica that not only did Erica steal Casey's boyfriend in the past, but Erica has even stolen Joey's boyfriend in the past, which Joey is completely over, because in her words and in Erica's words, that was years ago, they got over it. Erica does share here with Joey and with the audience that Casey was dating some guy. Erica essentially said, I gotta have him, so she took him. Erica ends this scene by kind of sharing that, you know what, we've all moved on. I think that Casey has no hard feelings about their past together. Cut immediately to the next scene with Casey talking with her mom about the Hamptons trip. She said she's more or less dreading having Erica there, and she's scared about having to speak to Erica about their entire past and this whole thing. We get more of Casey's backstory. We learn that her parents divorced when she was 2 because her dad left for another woman. She literally hasn't seen him ever since. He's not in the picture at all. Clearly Casey, and she knows this, she tells us this, is like making connections between what her dad did to her and her mom and what Erica did, and has caused these kind of like problems around relationships for Casey. Casey's mom suggests, you know what, maybe you just need to finally talk things out. Talk it out with Erica, get resolved, and move on. You know, it's been so many years later, at least 10. We cut, finally, our next big event is at the weekend rental in Southampton, in the Hamptons themselves. We have the girls getting ready for the Shabbat dinner. Chanel is trying to explain how everything works and how everything goes down. First, it's just Ashley, Chanel, Erica, and Joey there. They all took a party bus to the Hamptons. We get a little bit more of Ashley's kind of personality as the spoiled girl. We learn that anytime she goes somewhere, she brings her own sheets and bedding because she doesn't like to sleep in the same place that other people have touched. And she finds a stain on like one of the beds, and calls her mom immediately to like be consoled about it. After some prep and some getting ready and everything, Casey has finally arrived. When Casey gets there, she does not greet Erica because she says she doesn't want to be fake. But Erica is already annoyed that Casey is giving her the cold shoulder. And that is something that, like, we get this entire episode and next episode and a few things later on. Erica, call it fake if you want to. Erica does just want to, like, move on and get this moved forward. So she's trying her best she can to be nice and amicable. And Casey's just, like, none of it. She's ignoring all of it. She doesn't want to engage until we get to a blow up. Chanel, she said she's on host duty. She's going to make sure that everyone has a really good time. And she's very excited about exposing all of her friends to a like traditional Shabbat dinner and the ritual, doing the prayers, doing all the steps and everything that goes into this. She wants to, share this aspect of her regular, week-to-week life with her best friends. She does, make a comment that kind of sets the scene, and when you think about it kind of like meta-narratively, she's like, the purpose of Shabbat dinner is to bring everyone together. And that's what she's done. She's brought all her friends together, although Amanda's not there yet. And while she's talking, Erica proposes a toast. Casey is looking away from her this whole time. Erica also makes a little comment about the private chef they hired having the same name as one of her exes, and she makes a joke about, oh, well, that happens when you have 900 exes. And she starts talking about, like, meditation and reaching spirituality and all these things. And you can tell that Erica's kind of just, like, filling the void of empty space, because it doesn't seem like anyone else is really talking. But she's kind of awkward about being around Casey. Casey finally interrupts and basically just says, can you stop talking? She's so over it. She's so over all this, quote, fake stuff that Erica's doing and everything. Can't handle listening to Erica's bullshit. This causes Erica to leave the table, go outside. She's crying, having a cigarette. Erica's outside. She calls Rob for support. Rob's trying to help her calm down and address the situation and talk about it. Meanwhile, inside, Casey's kind of like freaking out, and everyone's like not really sure what to do with her. She just keeps saying over and over again that like she can't even be in the same room as Erica. It makes her sick and all these things. She's having a physical reaction to being around this girl. I said, oh my god, the trauma. Chanel says to Casey, you're in this moment. You've got reached this heightened state of emotion. You should handle this now. Joey goes outside to comfort Erica and give her some advice about needing to be the bigger woman in this moment, which Erica's like, yeah, I can do that, but I need her to like participate in the dialogue if that's going to happen. And Chanel also goes outside to ask Erica if she could talk things out with Casey, and Erica says she just cannot talk things out with someone that just told her to shut up at the Shabbat table, and the episode ends there. We're like mid-fight. Episode 3, called Saved by the Boys, then picks up right where we leave off from the fight. Chanel does give us a little bit of a recap, and there's no, old Jewish proverb this time. Just a review of the events of the previous episode, and particularly highlighting when Casey told Erica to shut up and Erica leaves the table. We first start with Casey going out to confront Erica to see if they can attempt to talk this whole thing out. This goes horribly. She tells Erica that she knows the kind of girl she is, and she's always that girl. Erica attempts to argue back that she's not that way anymore. She says if she could go back in time, that she would fix things and not do what she did, but she knows she can't. So the best she can do is apologize and hope to positively move on. Casey brings up her parents' divorce and how Erica traumatized her, and they finish this with nothing actually resolved. Casey goes back in first. Erica comes back in, and she's like, I'm sorry for interrupting dinner. Sorry for being a dickhead in high school, and also all of my life, maybe. Which, like, I feel like we're not supposed to like Erica in this moment, but, like, the way she handles everything, I'm kind of a fan. I kind of get it. Amanda and Jeff finally arrive. As soon as Amanda walks in, Erica is crying, and Amanda's like, what the hell is going on? Tell me everything. And I believe Chanel fills her in, or Ashley does, and Erica also explains a little bit to Jeff. I have in my note here that, like, Erica is basically a real-life Jenny Slate character. Like, if you watch this show, you'll see it. Erica does also give Chanel a little pep talk because she's feeling bad about bringing Casey and Erica together, and Erica's like, no, listen, you just wanted to have Shabbat dinner with your ladies, and it's us who ruined everything. Most of this rest of the episode is like little events. They're still in the Hamptons. They're still trying to do things, and it keeps kind of building up to concern around Erica, mostly. For example, like we get a little bit of Jeff and Amanda hang out at the hotel, and that's mostly just them being lovey on each other, and they love PDA, and that's like, this is our big example of that. But also Erica trying to like avoid things, you know, she's like, I'm hungover, but she also might just like feel bad, so everyone else goes out to brunch without her. And while they're at brunch in the Hamptons, they try to flirt with some guys, and this is where we start seeing some more rifts between the group, particularly it was like Chanel and Ashley coax some dudes into coming over, and they're flirting and everything, and one of the guys is particularly interested in like only Casey, but Casey is not about his vibe, not about his attitude, and this is where we start getting a little bit of differences. For a show that's like focused on single women allegedly trying to find love, Casey in particular, and like Joey as well, are both never really characterized as like desperately doing so. Like, they're single, and sure, they like to find someone to be with, but their characterization of the show is so much more based on other things that anytime it does get brought up with them, they're, like, not really engaging with it, which is interesting to, like, keep them in then and keep their, like, storylines going. Rob comes, Erica's boyfriend, to comfort her. He drives all the way out to the Hamptons, and they talk and whatnot. And then that night, they try to go out clubbing, and all these things, meet some more dudes. They meet a guy who they're like, oh, he looks like Clark Kent. He looks like someone I work with, which is eerie for me. And they're all trying to flirt with him. Ashley, in particular, goes after him really hard. And she kind of like, I don't like saying things are cringe, but she kind of like, I don't want to say, and she doesn't embarrass herself because she's fine with it, but watching it, you're like, oh my god. She fawns over this dude immediately, and as soon as Chanel makes a comment about like, oh, is this the one? Is this your future husband? Ashley calls her dad to be like, listen, Dad, I found this man, I found this guy. I'm going to describe him, here he is, he's gonna be my future husband. And the dude's sitting there like he just met her 5 minutes ago. Joey in particular finds this extremely odd and extremely weird, and she calls Ashley out on it. And this turns into a little bit of a spat and an argument, and is the beginning of a rift between Ashley and Joey that will be separated and pried open further and further as the show goes on. We cut a little bit more forward to all the girls getting ready to go out for the evening, and while they're all getting out, they go party, they get very drunk, they're trying to come back. Rob, at one point, while they're out at some club or something, goes to talk to Casey to try to see if he can like smooth things over. Erica thanks him for doing that and having her back. And on the way back to the rental home for the weekend, Erica has a big fall, and we're like, oh, is she okay? Back at the house, Rob is still stuck in the taxi. He's like passed out in the back of the cab, and Erica's freaking out because she doesn't know how to get him in the house. Somehow Amanda, who is like 5'4", gets Rob up out of the cab and into the house. And then the next couple scenes is just kind of like watching chaos unfold and really like weird events and comments being made. Erica's like way too drunk. Rob is way too drunk. Erica starts looking for her Adderall that she is prescribed. But it was like made off to be a really strange moment where you're like, is Erica drinking and doing drugs? You're like, but she like spoke out about it later. She's like, that was my real medication that I take. There's a little bit of like fighting and some squabbles and some back and forth bickering. And at some point, Casey suddenly decides to like deliver her judgment. She's decided Erica has never grown up. You know, so much for Casey never moving on. Here's Erica never moving on from immaturity from her perspective. Always this partying, not knowing how to handle herself, not having limits. And her boyfriend's the same way. Which is really interesting because like now Casey is being super righteous about Erica having a drinking problem. And to the point that she starts a discussion with the other ladies about how, like, maybe Erica should go to a program. She should go to AA. Someone should talk to her. And who should be the one to talk to her? Casey should be. Which is the wildest thing I've ever heard after these 2 episodes in sequence. Why would that be a good idea at all? That's where that ends. It's so bizarre. The only other things that end out for the episode is Rob and Erica head out a little bit early to kind of, like, avoid seeing everyone. And then Chanel says that, like, after Erica's behavior this weekend, she's got to do something. She needs to find a way to help her friends get along. So those were the first 3 episodes, and if you're familiar with any Bravo show, then you'll probably recognize that they follow the Bravo formula pretty well. Have the cast do some event or activity together, there's usually some conflict, and then later on, people get together, usually over lunch, to talk about the conflict until eventually the people at the center of it come together and either resolve it or it gets worse. So the rest of the show also follows that formula broadly, but I don't want to go into as much detail for the remaining 7 episodes of the show because that would make this podcast episode over 2 hours long. So instead, I will just hit the highlights of the main events that you need to know about in order to understand what everything happens before I kind of discuss the ladies and how the show portrays them. I will say, I watched the show on Amazon. I think you can buy it for like $12. I don't know if it's available anywhere else in any other means or medium or whatever. But the pretty detailed summaries of each episode are still available on realitytvt.com, the website for Reality TVT. The summary is written by Melissa. They're pretty comprehensive, and they're all still up there if you'd like to read those to get a more thorough recap on every single event that happened. So episode 4 is called Mr. Wrongs Don't Make a Right. Our Erica delivers a recap. We do get a proverb again. We're told time heals old wounds, but it also makes new ones. Erica says this is true even on Long Island, where she's still reliving drama from high school at 29 years old. For the first half of this episode, our focus is Ashley's birthday. She's turning 30. We have one scene of Amanda and Chanel shopping for dresses, where they also talk about Chanel's ex. Another where Ashley is prepping for her 30th birthday party, and she gets gifted a diamond ring from her dad, one with a pretty big rock. And Ashley tells us, this day is really important for my parents, and it's really important for me. And that really just cements, Ashley's relationship with her parents a little bit more for us. And then we make it to her birthday party. It's at a club in a strip mall. Very unassuming on the outside, but the club itself looks nice on the inside. Everyone's there. It's a good time. The only, weird thing that happens is I think Erica gets a little messy, and then also Jeff and Amanda are doing their typical PDA all over each other, and everyone's like, oh, cool. Great. But some dude is all over Erica, and she's not resisting at all, and everyone is noticing. So the next thing we hit up that is important for our development here is Erica and Rob. They meet up to play tennis. Okay. But more importantly, they meet up to have a discussion about their current state of their relationship. Erica makes some comments about how she feels like Rob doesn't trust her. She tries to pry a little into Rob about it. And they kind of end up on like okay, things are still the same. He still trusts her, although he's also aware that he has these concerns, and he's been proven multiple times that he should have these concerns. I made a note here that I kind of was like, I know this tactic of Erica. I know this girl. She's setting up safeguards with Rob in case the other girls tell Rob about what they saw at the club and some of her other behavior. We see Chanel's ex come terrorize her a little bit by just sort of showing up at her house, and demanding and requesting to talk to her. She tries to grant him a single minute to do that, and it turns into an argument and Chanel crying. And that ends with, again, her dad comforting her and saying that, you gotta move on, kid. The back half of this episode is 2 simultaneous events and scenes playing out, but we cut back and forth between them, which is also why I don't want to try to just summarize the events again, because now we're starting to get into things that would just make that messy and complicated. So, one of them is Chanel, Joey, Casey, and Ashley going to a Jewish singles camp. Ashley has found this camp. She thinks it'll be really fun. They can meet a lot of guys, as is Ashley's mission in life right now. They all seem pretty, excited about it, except for Joey. It's not really her thing, because as much as I said, camp, it's kind of like one of those, glamping experiences, and it's just not in Joey's wheelhouse at all. On the way there, however, they find out that the camp is closed because there was a big storm that was coming in, and they wanted to shut it down. So now they're already in Connecticut, and they're like, well, what are we going to do now? We're not going to drive back, because we just got here. And it took all day. So they decided to just find a random bar to have some drinks and figure out what they're going to do. They pick, kind of a dive, not a grungy, grody bar, but not something that Ashley, of course, would not be a fan of. And Chanel has a good time. Joey has a good time. Casey is a little bit of a stick in the mud, so she's just kind of like sitting at the bar most of the time. She doesn't want to dance. She doesn't want to chat with guys. She's just there. Ashley also does end up having a good time, even though at first she was very opposed to the idea. She ends up dancing with some dudes and, of course, asking every single one of them if they're Jewish. This group ends the night and their piece of the episode by finding a motel to spend the night. Of course, Ashley brought her own bedding like last time, but even the state of the physical hotel is enough to make Ashley actually sick. Meanwhile, what we're shown for the other ladies that weren't part of this trip, Amanda and Erica, they're going out along with Amanda's mom, Babs. They're just going out to have a great time. We got to meet Amanda's sister, Taylor, here, who talks with the most extreme vocal fry that I have yet heard on this earth. And they're all having a great time. And Amanda, unfortunately, can't have as great a time as she would like to because she is having to keep tabs on Erica and remind her over and over again of like, hey, don't you have a boyfriend? What's going on here? And Erica's, again, just chatting up with all the dudes, flirting with them all, essentially leading them on. And our episode kind of ends with Rob calling, Erica not picking it up, and some of the guys asking, like, oh, is that your boyfriend? She goes, no, he's whatever I want him to be. I make the rules. And then Amanda is trying to find Erica because she has slipped away with one of the dudes into the club restroom to do whatever. Episode 5, Intermention, like a mensch, because it's a show about Jewish women. We get a recap from Chanel on the previous episode, and we get another proverb. Whoever can stop wrongdoing but doesn't will be punished. I don't think I would call that a proverb, but I'm sure it's a saying. I'm sure it's a quote. Chanel also says, I'm not going to tell somebody how to live, but when the other option is the wrath of God, sometimes you got to get up in other people's business. The main events of this episode, we are introduced to Amanda's startup business, the Drink Hanky. It's like a koozie, but made out of like a fashionable fabric. So think 2013, like what was trendy. A lot of the Drink Hankies are animal print and like hot pink accents, which is also just like all over Amanda's house. We also tag along with Amanda and her creative director / gay BFF Ilton and a photographer to do a promotional photo shoot for the Drink Hanky at a local park. We're introduced to Joey's startup business, Kissament. Kissament is a combination lip balm, moisturizer, and breath spray that she's trying to market and get sold. We go along with Joey to a meeting with a marketing exec that is mayhaps talks a little bit too much about how Joey is single and is a little creepy. Joey even comments on this where she's like, you know what, I kind of just got to sit through it because he's a genius at marketing, so he's going to help me get Kissament off the ground. Rob and Erica meet up to have a discussion about where they are at in their relationship, although this ends up being very one-sided, with Rob trying to half confront Erica about her behavior and her just kind of being like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Don't worry about it. It's fine. You know, both agree at the end of this discussion to chill out on the partying and going crazy after the Hamptons trip and other recent events. Also relating to this, some of the other ladies have a couple discussions about Erica and how worried they are about her behavior. Amanda and Chanel were supposed to go out with Erica at the start of the episode, and they're at the club, and Erica bails on them. And then later they all, like everyone but Erica, has like a brunch together, and everyone's like, well, where's Erica? And they discuss that. This ultimately, for this episode, results in Chanel and Casey attempting to hold an intervention for Erica to, you know, express their concern and try to get it into her front of her attention that she needs to like pump the brakes and get a control of herself. But they're literally so bad at it because like you can tell they didn't really plan anything, and they also don't know how to like address this competently. Actually, probably one of the funniest moments in the entire show was this failure of an intervention. Ashley goes on a date with a man this episode, and Joey has a difficult talk with her dad about life expectations and the Kissament company. Episode 6 is called Coco Loco. Something I haven't mentioned yet is that Chanel's nickname is Coco, And anytime Chanel goes out, she gets a little drunk, she has a good time, Coco comes out. Amanda gives us a recap, primarily about her career taking off and how she's also found her boyfriend Jeff, who is the one. And we get a reminder about Chanel's sister's upcoming wedding, which we haven't really heard about since the first episode. Our proverb this time is, death and marriage are two things that you're never late for. But try telling that to Chanel's mom, says Amanda. Our main events here, we have Casey, Joey, and Ashley going to a Jewish speed dating event. Casey seems to have an okay time. Ashley is there with like a determined purpose. She's, trying to find a man. And Joey thinks the whole thing is silly, so she just kind of trolls the guys that she's paired with. And Casey thinks this is immature, and Ashley thinks this is beyond immature. She just starts to really dislike Joey for it. And thus the rift between Joey and Ashley grows further, and Ashley and Casey get closer because of now their shared dislike for Joey. Although we are also shown little snippets of Ashley and Casey hanging out and genuinely enjoying each other's company. Back in the Hamptons, when Ashley was doing that thing with that dude where she was fawning all over him and immediately called her dad, Casey thought it was really funny and endearing, while Joey thought it was cringe. Chanel, her sister Ashley, and their mom Donna go dress shopping, and it makes Chanel really, really sad because her sister forces her to try on a legit, bridal gown. Not just a bridesmaid dress, but an actual gown. And then everyone's like, oh, wait till you get married. And she's like, great, thanks, guys, thanks. Erica and Joey go out together for a fun time, but Joey ends up annoyed that she has to keep Erica on a leash, so that's still going on. And then the whole rest of the episode, Amanda has a white party at a local salon to kind of show off and promote the drink hanky. It's a whole thing. It's basically the entire back third of the episode. It starts off really well. Everyone's arriving. Everyone's having a good time. Then suddenly chaos erupts and it all starts going downhill. Chanel just starts fighting with some woman who made a comment to her or something. She threw a drink at her, and all of this kind of reached a climax for Chanel. The stress and the insecurity about her sister getting married, the stuff with her ex, the stuff with the group and everything going on. It's too much. So she explodes. And she fights this woman. So they have to break that up. They have to figure out what's going on. In the middle of trying to get a handle of everything, try to figure out if Chanel's okay, trying to get things calmed down. Somehow it just gets worse because Ashley and Joey start fighting. Primarily because Ashley's trying to control the situation and be kind of a gatekeeper guardian for Chanel in this moment. And Joey just kind of pushed past her. So Ashley and Joey start fighting, which ultimately ends up in Ashley just being like, Joey, you're not a good person. And we end the white party with the, salon owner kicking everyone outside. They're done. And the episode just kind of ends with everyone, mad and upset. Amanda's like, my party's a mosh pit, and Erica says she has never seen Chanel like this. I also just want to, mention this here because otherwise I'm going to forget it. It's a white party, so everyone is wearing white. But then at one point, they had, the cameras pan back over to the woman that Chanel was kind of, beefing with, and her face is blurred. But, I saw other people in not white talking to her, so I was, wondering, and, I'm not able to, find out the answer to this. But I was I wonder if those were, producers of the show or something. Or someone attached to the show. Some kind of security or something, talking with that woman and trying to figure out, what was going on and how they can, rectify the situation. It would make sense. Kind of some damage control. Episode 7 is called Who Are You? The Pope? Joey gave us a recap this time, and our proverb is, a bird you set free may be caught again, but a word that escapes your mouth can never return. I think this was one of the real ones, but don't hold me to that. Our main things that happen in this episode, Joey, Erica, and Amanda first meet up for a little hike or jog. I said oh, sure, that totally happened naturally. I've never seen any of them exercise on this show. But sure, they came together naturally to do that. And they talk not only about the drink hanky party and what happened with Chanel, but also Ashley, who had in the meantime texted Amanda and Erica, telling them not to be friends with Joey. Chanel goes to see her rabbi for advice after the breakdowns and the blow-up from the last episode. Cool. Erica and Rob go to look at houses because they've decided they're serious enough to maybe consider doing that. Even though we don't have any discussion of marriage yet, which is fine, but it also becomes a sticking point for her parents later on. Erica would like to, live with Rob to see how things go and move out. But her parents are like, but if you're going to get a house, go ahead and just get married. Amanda and Jeff meet with Jeff's parents to discuss marriage. They're all for it. Later, Amanda and Babs will talk one-on-one about this in this episode, and this is when we find out that Babs is really against Amanda rushing into this marriage with Jeff. She wants Amanda to wait longer, live a little bit more. And we find out that they've only been dating for 6 months. So it's nice to see Babs parenting come out after a lot of what other we've seen of her is her trying to be younger again and be a little bit more of as Amanda put it, her best friend rather than her mother. After trying on some bridesmaid dresses at the house, Chanel ends up on a date with the guy from the shop the dresses came from. This date goes poorly because the dude is just a little too traditional for her. And their date discussion got into his expectations for a woman around the house. And she's like, nope, I'm out. We wrap up this episode with Joey and Ashley meeting up to talk. Maybe they can hash things out. Ashley says her comments and her anger have been building for a while, and that she needs to get him out. And Joey's like, where is this coming from? What are you talking about? And then Joey now confronts Ashley over the text to Erica and Amanda. This starts into an actual argument, and all sorts of words and phrases are flying. At one point, Ashley makes a comment about how she's funny, and then Joey's like, yeah, funny looking, and that ends it. Ashley decides to leave. She wants to be the higher person for some reason, so she actually pays for both Ashley and Joey's drinks. And then we end the episode with a storm out of this restaurant. Joey calls Amanda immediately to be like, what the hell just happened? And Ashley, of course, calls her dad. Episode 8 is called Always a Bridesmaid. Chanel gives us a recap. We get a proverb that's very relevant. You can't dance at 2 weddings with one tuchus. That one is real. I looked it up, and I was like, oh, good. The main events here, we have Chanel's sister's wedding, finally. Chanel's nervous about the role of the maid of honor and having to give a toast such a speech, but she eventually makes it through and it goes well. Ashley also confronts Amanda about telling Joey about the texts, and then Joey's dad gives her a 90-day ultimatum to be out of the house, because he's tired of waiting for Kissament to take off and for her career to really get going. So later in the episode, Joey and Amanda attempt to go look for an apartment for Joey, and it does not go well. Once they see the state of things that are available in the actual price range Joey could make work. Erica and Rob discuss marriage with Erica's parents, as I mentioned about last episode. And then Amanda and Jeff go on a double date with Ashley and a new guy that Amanda found for her. An older man, great for Ashley. His name is Marcos. He's 51 and from Venezuela. He really has no sense of personal space, but he seems very charming, and Ashley is totally into him. And Amanda's like, I did a good job. I found the right guy. And then they go to a club with him later, and it turns out he's a huge womanizer. And once Ashley's kind of not a fan of that, he's done with her. Elephant 9. Episode 9 is called The Elephant in the Vineyard. Ashley gave us a recap of a lot of the season, building up everything that's kind of happened so far, all the necessary relationships, for a very good reason, because this really is the kind of climax of everything. Our proverb that we got is, love your enemies just in case they turn out to be schmucks. Okay. Our main events here, Ashley confronts Erica this time about the Joey stuff and revealing the texts. Jeff and his parents go over to have dinner with Amanda and her family. Jeff's parents love Amanda, but Babs is not as thrilled. And basically, Jeff's parents are ready for him to get hitched. Remember, he is 38. While Babs is not ready for Amanda to go and really thinks Amanda should slow her roll. Also, Amanda's siblings were there, very awkwardly. The rest of the episode, and the more important thing here that happened, is the ladies go to a vineyard for a tour and a nice day of drinking some wine, and then they plan to go out on Erica's dad's boat. And by the ladies, I mean all. They tour the winery. Ashley gets freaked out a bit because they go above the tanks of wine and she's afraid of heights, and now the things begin. Chanel and the others think Ashley is freaking out over the unresolved drama with Joey, and that's what's making her kind of on edge for this. And it kind of just continues from there. After the tour, they're out sitting in the vineyard. They're supposed to be enjoying some wine, and they're discussing. Joey really doesn't want to talk anything out with Ashley today. She just wants to have a good time. And it all falls apart, including a whole 2 minutes straight where Joey and Ashley are just kind of yelling at and past each other, where I couldn't even figure out what they were really saying. So I just didn't really take any notes on that part. Erica and Chanel finally get them to actually just shut up. Ashley finally asks and get it out. She asks Erica if she ever showed Joey the text message, which she says yes. And then Ashley calls her out for that because when they previously talked about it, Erica told her that she didn't do that when they talked last. And so now she has a liar on her hands. Ashley starts claiming that Amanda, Joey, and Erica are trying to rip her apart, bring her down, all these things. Then Ashley makes it even worse because she brings up Joey's mom, which had never been mentioned until now. And afterwards we learn that Joey and her mom have a really bad relationship. So Ashley tries to, bring this up, stab the knife in and twist it, which Amanda thinks is pathetic behavior. And it sends Joey off as well. This causes most of the group to turn on Ashley, and Amanda's like, great, now there's sides to this argument and this fight. Everyone's kind of on Joey's side. Oh, I forgot Casey actually wasn't here when I said earlier all 6. Casey's not in this picture right now. Most everyone is on Joey's side, especially after Ashley's comment about dragging her mom into this conversation. Low blow. But Chanel, ever trying to be the peacemaker and the one who brings people together, goes to try to comfort Ashley and at least get her to come back and see what's going on. Chanel also calls up Casey for help for some reason in this moment while she's trying to get Ashley to calm down or whatnot. The trip to the vineyard ends. They're trying to leave. They have to go meet with Erica's dad to get on the boat. Erica is trying to get them to all go, and she's like, we're running behind. And while Chanel is trying to get them to just wait a little bit longer so she can get Ashley and we can all go together and we can figure this out, Ashley literally disappears. And it's hard to figure out if this is a thing, production just let her go, but she legitimately disappeared. And that's where episode 9 ends. Episode 10 is called Sunrise, Sunset. We pick right up from the last episode. No proverb. Erica, Amanda, Joey, and Rob join them in the meantime, go and meet up with Erica's dad. They go out on the boat. They're going to have a good rest of their day. They're going to enjoy the day as planned. And they're talking about everything that's going on. They're like, wow, that was crazy. And Chanel texts Amanda while they're there. And they and us, as the viewers, learn at the same time that Ashley is in the hospital. Turns out Ashley tells us in a confessional that she had a panic attack and hitchhiked to a local hospital. Okay. We get a few other details about Amanda from Chanel during this time where they're trying to pull everything together. And Chanel reveals that Ashley a few years ago had a health scare, and that's why Chanel was super duper worried about finding Ashley, because she kind of just wandered off and she couldn't find her for the longest time. So something really bad could have happened to her. She's panic attack and dehydrated. They gave her a Benadryl. She got better. Back in where everyone normally lives, Casey confronts Amanda about what happened and puts her on an ultimatum kind of thing. If Amanda's Ashley's friend, then why did she leave Ashley alone? Why did she go stick with Joey? What happened? And Casey wasn't there, so she's of course acting kind of righteous like she normally does, because she doesn't even know all the details. Amanda and Jeff, we have a scene with them on the Long Island Railroad, which if you recall, that's where they met after Jeff was being a little creepy, where Jeff is pouring his heart out and he's saying all these nice things, and he pulls out a box at the end of this, and we're like, oh no, oh my god, are we going to finally end this show with a marriage proposal? No. It's not a real proposal. It's a pre-posal, a promise ring kind of thing. But Amanda really likes that Jeff is respecting Babs's wishes and concerns. Chanel has an idea to bring everyone back together to try to resolve things and just make things better going forward. We're nearing the Jewish New Year, so she decides that they're all going to celebrate, and I'm going to say it wrong because I'm not Jewish and I don't know how to say these words. Tashlik. It's a celebration of the new year and whatnot, and discarding old things and picking up new wishes and whatnot. So Chanel wants them to come together and do this celebration. So they get everyone together. At first, it's just Amanda, but then Erica, Joey, Casey get there. We're missing someone. Ashley does finally arrive. And Erica's the first to kind of like breach the awkward silence and try to greet Ashley, which I'll note she did the same with Casey back in the Hamptons. I do have to give, some props to Erica for being the one to try to be like initiating the conversations first. They all talk. Everyone does a lot of apologizing to each other or trying to get their thoughts and their feelings out. Ashley informs everyone that a year ago she had a stroke that like removed her speech, her balance, her ability to walk, and her short-term memory. Only Chanel knew about that before now. And Ashley hopes that, someday everyone can get to the point where she's at, where she like takes every day at its fullest and she reflects every day on what she's been given. And then Amanda breaks it to Ashley and points out, it's like, listen, girl, that's great, but you put yourself in a dangerous situation and none of us are responsible for that. Like, you just kind of walking off because you've had a rough time because we've confronted you and you don't want to, like, think about it and you're crying. That's on you. And it is. So, we've had some sense, finally, after 10 episodes. Now we get a proverb for some reason. A true friend is not someone that helps you wipe your tears, but someone that doesn't make you cry in the first place. Wow. They celebrate the holiday. They toss some challah away because you're supposed to like toss it with a sin or something or a regret, and we end the series. And just to let you know, the like official like apology that all of them say with the ceremony, the little holiday thing with the challah bread. Erica, she apologizes for past transgressions. Amanda apologizes for treating people maliciously. Joey apologizes for falling off the right path. Casey apologizes for being uptight. Real. And Chanel apologizes for hurting people. Ashley thanks God for her wonderful life. So that's where we are. That's the whole series. It was kind of enjoyable, at least a good amount of it. You can really tell where things kind of went off the rails. Plot-wise. And I will say, like, if you're not a big reality person, especially, like, the Bravo-style shows where it's just mostly women for these shows, having events and conflicts and talking with each other, and then having different events and conflicts and talking with each other, and the cycle never really ends, and there's not a lot of progress made until something really big happens, then you probably won't like this show. But there's still enjoyable things to find in it. I forced my roommates to watch like the back half of the season, and they ended up finding it amusing, to say the least. And it's an incredible slice of 2012, 2013 style and fashion. Even if it is localized to like affluent areas of Long Island, there's so much in it that looking back on it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what we were wearing around that time, weren't we? So, I just kind of want to talk a little bit about how the show, like, what were the characterizations that these 6 ladies eventually ended up with? That's the kind of, like, spin I'm taking for this, is we had these episodes, we had all these events, and we were with them for a lot of these things. Based on what we were shown, what can I tell you about these 6 women? Chanel, she really loves her friends and tries her best to be the peacemaker. She likes to let loose. She likes to have fun. But we also learn she's very insecure about still being single, and in particular the fact that she can't seem to maintain a relationship. As we had a couple of moments and even that one fight with her ex when he showed up. Chanel cares a lot about the people around her, obviously. And it appears that, I don't want to like quantify this, but I think she's the one that's like the most traditionally Jewish. If it's not Chanel, like, starting up the conversations about it, a lot of the only other times it came up was with Ashley, and that's usually because she's always asking the men she's on dates with if they're Jewish. And then Amanda, because Babs keeps the house kosher, but Amanda kind of steps away from that when she goes out. And same with Jeff's parents. Other than that, like, it's just Chanel. And she's the one always telling us, like, she's the one who said, we're going to come together for Shabbat. We're going to come together for Tcheshlich, which I said wrong again. She was the one, I didn't talk about this, but during the wedding episode, the night before, she was telling Casey about, like, traditional henna that gets applied to the bride or the bridesmaid for like a Jewish tradition ritual kind of thing. That's Chanel. And she's the one I think we're kind of like supposed to look through because she is the first one we're introduced to. And she is in every single episode to a good amount. There's whole episodes where we're kind of like, oh yeah, we're like Casey didn't even get introduced to the second episode. And sometimes there's things where you're like, was Joey even around for this one? You know, or Erica when we're focusing on other people. Or sometimes they like would just throw one of them in the middle of another scene, kind of annoyingly. There was one scene, I think, with Ashley that got split up into 2 parts unnecessarily because they decided to cut away for like a minute and a half or 2 minutes to have Erica at her dad's office, them talking about like her career. But it was only for like a minute and a half. It was weird. Speaking of Erica, her characterization, you know, we got into this show with being told that she has a reputation. She was a party girl. She was the hottest girl on Long Island. She could get any man she wants, and she still does. But she's still working on maturing a bit. And despite kind of an aggressive outward personality, she is still sensitive and attempts to be nice to others. However, you can tell, especially with like her conversations with Rob and her conversations with her parents, that she doesn't necessarily quite want to move on a bit. She is very self-aware of her wealth and where she comes from, and she's fine with it. Like, why move on? Why go do something else when you're comfortable? Casey really likes to place herself above and outside the Long Island drama, but she's also not as really like desperate as Chanel and Ashley to find a new relationship to be in. Along with Joey, I'd say her and Casey are the ones who are like, yeah, they're single, but we spend more time with other things for them. Casey's an art girl, and she's kind of just dragged into all these things, and then there's her history with Erica, and that's kind of it until she like becomes a friend with Ashley, and then she's Ashley's biggest fighter. And that's Casey. Like, she also didn't even go to the vineyard, so she wasn't even in that episode until Chanel called her at the end to suddenly randomly bring her in. So, speaking of Ashley, Ashley clearly loves her family and doesn't appreciate what others are crass, rude, or gross. There's a lot of things I didn't mention, but like the things Joey was doing at the speed dating, and then some of them when they were flirting with the dudes in the Hamptons, Ashley was like, oh, don't be gross. I don't know, I think out of all the people on the main cast of this show, I think the production and the kind of writing of each episode was the harshest to Ashley. I think it tried to attempt to make it up to her at the end with having her reveal the stroke and her medical history and everything that's going on and how things are dangerous for her. But then I completely agree with Amanda, like, girl, you're 30. Don't put yourself in a dangerous situation if you know you're going to have problems. Other than that, Ashley's she can be a tough watch if you're easily, like, secondhand embarrassed and cringe a lot when watching this type of stuff. Sometimes it did feel like she was looking for a conflict a little bit. Who knows? And maybe, just maybe, the having a heel for every situation and always wearing heels thing, maybe that was a little bit of a caricature that she made up for herself to be interesting. We'll never know. Amanda's the only one on the show who is like in a stable and committed and solid relationship when we start the show, and is still in the relationship when we end the show. Erica's still with Rob, of course, but as we saw, that had kind of tumbles and hurdles and things. But Amanda loves Jeff. She's all over him the whole show. He's all over her. And we learned that Amanda, you know, she has ambitions. She has a great relationship with her other family members. And she honestly kind of seems like the most well-adjusted, all things considered. She's very defensive of the people she holds closest. She's willing to fight for a lot of them. But she's also, you know, a little naive, I think, right? In a good way. I think it's naive in like an endearing way. Both like with Jeff, her relationship with Jeff, wanting to jump into things and go ahead and get married, but Babs wanting her to wait. But also like with the drink hanky. Like, it's a cute idea, but it is basically just like a stylish koozie. but there's like an endearing naivete where you kind of believe, like, she's like, I'm gonna make it take off, I'm gonna make it the next big thing, and you kind of want to be like, you know what, hell yeah, you go, girl. And then finally, Joey is our introduction to Joey at first is through Ashley driving through Freeport and commenting about how scared she is because of how lower class relative than she's used to and how poor it is. And like, why is she driving through Freeport? To pick up Joey, who lives there. So that's how we're introduced to Joey, and it's how she also introduces herself to us, right? In her confessional, she tells us, she's like, listen, I'm a working girl. I gotta work these jobs. I'm trying to start a company at the same time. I don't come from the same kind of wealth and capital that everyone else does. And I'm not the spoiled brat like everyone else is. And so she's really, characterized as the woman who is trying her hardest to make it, but also one that wants to always make sure you know exactly where she stands on things. That's kind of how she, approaches the conflicts that we saw in the show, is she's like, listen, here's how it happened, here's the things that went down, here's what I said, and here's what I did. And even if she's, guilty by association in something, she's going to be like, but here's exactly what I did, and exactly what I said, so don't get it twisted. Along with Casey, as I mentioned earlier, Joey, she's single, but I don't think there was really ever a moment where Joey was, actively trying to interact with a man, try to get a date, or we see her doing anything. She attends the things with the women, but she's not. She tells us, she's like, yeah, I'm not really interested. I'm just kind of here to be a part of it. And that's kind of this analysis, this breakdown of what do we learn about these 6 women only from the show, right? There's probably many more facets to them. There's probably much more about their histories that we don't know about, both individually and a lot of them with each other. Or with other aspects of perhaps being Jewish, being from Long Island, romance, right? But kind of what I like to do on the pod is take what am I given as the text of the show, and then maybe if stuff I can find in research online, and kind of analyze it as if that's all that I have, what have I learned about these people? And that's what I've learned about these 6. Some other thoughts before I wrap up and close things down for this episode. I will say, watching it, this show feels, it does feel like a prequel to a Housewives, which is what Amanda said when she was getting casted. She's like, oh, it's like a Housewives-esque show, but none of us are wealthy, successful and married yet. I think it feels a bit more like Southern Charm, which would become much more successful later on. It's a little bit different, but if you've watched Southern Charm, I think you could see the comparisons there. I have joked that there's actually another show, I think it's on Bravo, that I want to cover later in the near future that would be the sequel to this one. It is on Bravo. It aired 2 years later on the same day. Princesses of Long Island came out June 2nd, 2013. This other show, Secrets and Wives, came out June 2nd, 2015. And it's about divorced women on Long Island. So, stay tuned for that. That should be coming out in, April. Not only are these ladies, quote, Jewish American princesses, which I counted, that title was only ever claimed 4 times in the entire show. And the acronym, the unfortunate acronym, was only ever said, twice, I think. So while we have that, they are also characterized through their behavior as what I'd call a classic archetype of a princess, being a woman who comes from status, some kind of family with wealth and higher position in society, who is characterized as what's the one thing a princess needs? Well, she needs a prince, she needs a husband. And what is this show trying to tell you about these women? They're all single and they're desperately trying to find a man. Except for Amanda and except for Erica. But they all want a man. Even though we really only see Chanel trying. And in terms of going on dates, we see Chanel go on 1 and we see Ashley go on 4. So. And then the final thing, which I thought was an interesting thing that I hadn't really pieced it together until the very end. That Chanel in the first episode claims is a traditional Jewish thing, which makes a connection between Jewish identity and this princess archetype, is these women and a princess in like a story would live at home with the family until she's wed. That is the thing that allows her to like leave and move out and do the next stage of her life. And I think the show really tries to like push that, because all these women do live with their families still, even though like Casey lives part-time in New York. But Casey's also kind of the outlier here, because she's not shown often actively looking for a man. She's kind of just doing her own thing. Honestly, it's kind of weird that they included her, but I can understand wanting to have 6 women for this show. I don't know what it is about it, but having only 5 would feel weird. I don't know why. Is it because there's 6 points in the Star of David? Who knows? Speaking of Judaism, this show was hated. And it's probably why it only got 1 season. And why you don't really hear people talking about it, except for the people who are big Bravo fans, or the people who watched it somehow back in 2013, or people like me who pick random shows and talk about them on the internet for fun. An article from religionnews.com in 2013, which was written shortly after the show started airing, attacked the show for its irresponsible perpetuation of Jewish stereotypes, particularly that of the Jewish American princess, and its label as a form of self-hatred among Jewish women. It also had other negative factors, of course, which included the depiction of Jewish women as overly dependent, spoiled, and concerned only with finding a rich husband. A lot of the Jewish community didn't like this show. A lot of people wrote about it. A lot of people complained about it. That same article also brought up how the residents of Freeport were actually upset that Ashley called their village ghetto, which Ashley then had to apologize for later on her blog. One Freeport woman even went so far as writing a change.org petition to urge Bravo to cancel the show. I think there was also a Facebook page or group that was trying to amass like a number of likes or something to urge, like as a petition, to urge Bravo to cancel the show. So people really didn't like this one. Mostly people who were just like directly offended in some way by the show, the behavior of the women, or their actions, or some combination of that. Understandably so. If, you're just living your life and suddenly there's a show out here that is specifically going to show people, hey, this is what Jewish women on Long Island are like. And you're like, great, now we get to fight that as well. But at the same time, some people, online said, listen, Jersey Shore happened and everyone in Jersey is fine. We think the affluent women of Long Island will be fine. Where are they now? Just to quickly wrap up, sometimes I like to do this for these shows, and there's only 6 women, it's easy to go through it pretty quickly. Some of them I couldn't find anything for. Erica went really private. Joey I couldn't really find anything on. Kismet had social media, but they haven't posted in 5 or 6 years. Casey's now a fitness influencer. She's on Instagram, Casey Cohen. Ashley is a women's health advocate. I think she got a lupus diagnosis. She does a lot of advocacy for that. She's also a big WWE fan, which is honestly kind of awesome. She's on Instagram, Ashley with 2 E's, White23. Chanel has a podcast, Chanel in the City podcast, and she also does stand-up comedy, which is nice to see. Her podcast Instagram is Chanel in the City podcast, and the Instagram for her is Chanel Omari, O-M-A-R-I. It's her last name. And then Amanda also has a podcast called Love Amanda, and she's been involved with a few other online projects. She also seems to be the one who's spoken out the most about the experience on the show. As I mentioned at the top, she did an interview with Behind the Velvet Rope podcast that was turned into 2 episodes. Good interview. Go listen to that if you're interested. I'll put a bunch of links in the show notes so that you have access to all these things. And Amanda, of course, is also on Instagram at Amanda Bertoncini. Go to their Wikipedia and look up their names. It's on there, and you can find them on Instagram. Thank you so much for listening to this slightly long episode to cover this wonderfully bizarre show. You can follow the pod on social media, on Instagram at The Recap Episode, on YouTube at The Recap Episode Pod. Until next time, I'm going to go hang out at a club and a strip mall, and y'all will hear me in the next episode.